Welcome back, and week 1 is in the books. So we're on to week 2. Hopefully hopefully it went well for you in fantasy football. Even if it didn't, stay true to your draft. Don't go crazy, add in all these new players. Give it at least another week or two. But with that, I got the stardom and sit 'em for week 2 in the NFL. But before that, what's crackin', like? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, give me a thumbs up, helps me get discovered. Go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Much appreciated, much obliged. Let's get this channel to 1 million subs. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm doing this all in one video as far as the QB, wide receiver, running back, and tight end position. I goofed. I didn't have a lot of time this week, so we're just going to speed through this, and we're going to start with Tampa Bay versus Carolina. This is the Thursday night game, and Cam Newton looked so-so, but that was against the Rams defense. He should look a lot better here. Christian McCaffrey, you start Christian McCaffrey every week. I think DJ Moore, he looked very good. He got a lot of targets last week, and that should continue. And as far as the Tampa Bay offense, it was just a rough week. Jameis Winston, he just had another one of those just rock bottom games. He should be much better this week. And then, I mean, Mike Evans, go ahead, start Mike Evans. He's not going to be held to 2 receptions this week. I think it'll be a bounce back. Chris Godwin got a lot of targets last week in that offense, so go ahead, he's a stardom. As far as the sit-ems, I don't trust Jameis Winston. Go ahead, drop him, honestly. Same goes with Peyton Barber. Ronald Jones, I'm a little on the fence on. You can start him if you like. For me, he's a sit-em if he's on your roster. Curtis Samuel, I just want to wait and see if he ends up getting more involved in the offense. And OJ Howard put up a stinker last week. It didn't look good. I won't start him. That's just me. Next, we got Miami versus New England. Easy sit 'em. Don't start any of the Dolphins players. But for the Patriots, keep this one. Just stay alert, because if Antonio Brown, he might not start this week. He might not play. They might wait a little bit before they get him. They might try to get him more acclimated into the offense. So he might not start. So honestly, him and Philip Dorsett, you could swap either of those options, but for real, I have almost every offensive player for the Patriots start, and Tom Brady should be a start. Sony Michel should look much better. James Whitehead's really good as a receiver. Rex Burkhead, he was very involved in both the rushing and passing game, and then I don't think with the presence of Antonio Brown will have an effect on Gordon or Edelman's production. Who it really does affect is Dorsett. So if Antonio Brown is playing this week, you sit Dorsett. Next, we got San Fran versus the Bengals. Matt Breida should be a start. I think he's good. He's basically the leader on the depth chart. Raheem Mostert, I would hold on him to see kind of look like he's going to be involved. This is a running back by committee, but I'm not that confident for a Bengal team that basically shut down the rushing game for Seattle this past week. Tyler Boyd and John Ross, as long as AJ Green is out, Ross is a start. Boyd, he saw a lot of targets last week. Kittle, no brainer. As far as the sit-em, Andy Dalton, I don't trust Andy Dalton. Granted, I think it was more so Zach Taylor made Andy Dalton look good last week. I don't think that'll stick. Same thing with Garoppolo. He just looked really bad last week against Buck defense. He should have played pretty well against. Mixon, he might be hurt, so just keep your ear out for that. Hopefully you Mixon owners have Bernard as a handcuff. I don't think Bernard's a stardom. Like I said, this San Fran defense, they played pretty well. Granted, it was against the Bucks, and Winston kind of threw that game away, but I just don't trust Bernard. I don't trust the Bengal offense completely. Pettis was a non-factor. Goodwin was a non-factor for the 49ers. They were passing to everybody. It's very, for a fantasy owner, for anyone in that receiving group, you just can't trust any of them. So I wouldn't have any of them starting this week. And honestly, I think Pettis might be a guy you might want to drop at this point for now. On to the Chargers versus the Lions. Don't be fooled. The Lions played a very weak defense there in Arizona. I have Matthew Stafford as a sit-em. I got Galladay as a sit-em as well, which might be surprising because I got Amendola and Jones as startums. Because honestly, I think Galladay will be the weak link. He will have the least production out of anybody in that receiving group, because Amendola looked to be the the target hog there, and Marvin Jones, he's just a big play waiting to happen. I think Galladay will be the one that has his numbers suffer. So there's that. TJ Hawkinson, I want to see a little bit more. Honestly, he was a focal point. He was on the field for a majority of those offensive snaps, but I do want to see a little bit more against a Charger team that shut down both Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle, so I would sit him this week. Starms, Phillip Rivers, I think this is an easy one. Austin Eckler has proven he'll see the same amount of carries as Justin Jackson, but he's a threat in the pass game. I think Jackson, for me, is a sit-em in this just because how involved Eckler is going to be with the offense. Kerryon Johnson, he had a rough week. Just go ahead, star him. He will have better days, and I think this week will be a better day. Keenan Allen's a no-brainer. Hunter Henry's a no-brainer. I think Mike Williams, I don't know how long he's out for. He might be a game-time decision later in the week, so just be aware of that. This game ought to be real exciting between the Packers and the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers, I think, will come out and have a much better game this week. I don't think that Minnesota defense, especially the secondary, is as good as we think it is. They managed to shut down the Falcons because the offensive line kind of folded. I know the Packers offensive line didn't play that well against the Bears, but I think they will rebound. They're in Lambeau. So Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, MVS, they're all starts. Even Jimmy Graham, I think, is a start this week. Because, I mean, you saw what Austin Hooper did to the Vikings last week. Christian Cousins, this team's going to be very dominant with running the football. He only had, I think 10 completions. Granted, they got up early, didn't really need to pass the ball, but I don't think they'll be passing the ball a lot. So Cousins I have as a sit, as well as Kyle Rudolph. You're going to be starting the Vikings receivers regardless. Thielen and Diggs are just too good not to start. Dalvin Cook, with the way they're running the ball now, he is a start. I have the Packers running backs as sits, though. Jamal Williams, absolutely, he's a sit. Aaron Jones is a little more tough. This is a guy, you could go either way. He didn't play that well against a really good defense there in Chicago. So do you trust him against his Viking defense? I mean, LaFleur said he wanted to run the ball more. How much of Jones's share will Williams dig into? Just too many questions for me to want to start him, but I won't blame you if you do. And we're on to the Colts versus the Titans. This should be a very fun game, but I have both quarterbacks as sit-ems this week, especially, after Marcus Mariota, he played extremely well, but we know Marcus Mariota, whenever he pops off for a game, there's a letdown game coming sooner or later. This might be that game because this Colts defense, they didn't play great, but they played pretty decent against a very, very, very good Chargers offense. Jacoby Brissett, again, Titans D, that's a really good D, kind of scares me. Corey Davis was a non-factor in the offense. I also have A.J. Brown just because rookies typically don't play well their rookie year. They're getting accustomed to how the NFL plays. And granted, he went off last week. I expect that offense to kind of reel back a little bit. And I got Eric Ebron down here because I think the weapon for Brissett is gonna be Jack Doyle, and I have him as a start this week. So you got that. Delaney Walker looks like the main weapon for Mariota, so I think he's a safe start, as well as T.Y. Hilton. He had 2 touchdowns last week, so I think he will be he's a start this week. And both running backs, Marlon Mack went off last week, and so did Derrick Henry. So this should be a very fun game to watch. This game might not be pretty. Buffalo versus the Giants. I think a majority of the Bills are starts this week. Josh Allen, I got both Bills running back because it looks like Frank Gore is still going to get a bulk of the workload there. John Brown, Corey Beasley, they saw a lot of targets. But I got Zay Jones as a sit. I think out of those three receivers, he will be the one to kind of not get the same opportunities, the same type of targets as the other guys. So I think he will struggle to score fantasy points. As far as starting for the Giants, Saquon, that's about it. I think Sterling Shepard will rebound back. He got the targets. He just didn't do a lot with them. Evan Ingram, I think, is honestly the number one weapon. Maybe Barkley's the number one weapon. And I'm talking about the passing game. But Eli Manning, no brainer. He's a sit. This game ought to be really fun. It ought to be really close. I think both these teams are looking to rebound from kind of so-so performances. The Seahawks versus the Steelers. Big Ben, after he puts up a goose egg for performance, he typically follows it up with a top 10 performance. He's done it. He's done it in the past where he just put up a terrible, maybe 4 to 5. I've seen it as high as 6 interception game. I started him a couple of years ago. And he faced the Jags, and 6 picks. It was pretty rough. But he typically rebounds from those games. He had a first. He was a QB1 the following week. Multiple times. He's always been at least in the QB 10 after a game like this. So I think that'll continue. Russell Wilson will be. I think this is going to be not a very high scoring game, but I think they'll be approaching the 30. I don't think it'll be as defensive as we think, just because of both teams' secondaries. Both running backs should be a start here, especially Chris Carson in the passing game. Juju is a start because he looks like the only weapon on the outside. And Tyler Lockett, I expect him to get more involved in the offense there. DK Metcalf, I know he got the good target share last week. I'm just still a little antsy on starting him. Any of the receivers, like for the Steelers, no Dante Moncrief, no Deontay Johnson, no James Washington. I don't trust any of them, and I don't trust the tight ends for either team. I was very high on Vance McDonald going into the year because I thought he was going to see a lot of those targets left behind by Antonio Brown. Week 1 was not a good indication that will be the case, so he's a sit for me this week. The Redskins were very surprising in week 1 against the Eagles, but now they have to face a Dallas team that was very, very impressive. Granted, it was against the Giants, but they looked really good. I think Dak is a start. Zeke's always going to be a start. You probably used a first-round pick on him if you're one of those lucky guys that got him in the second round because people were worried that he was going to hold out. Man, props to you, but he is a start every week. I think all the Cowboys receivers are starts. You saw what the Eagles did last week to the Redskins. I mean, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, they were all big weapons in the passing game. And the Cowboys, they spread the ball around very nicely. So I think they're all starts. Terry McLaurin, I think, is going to be more involved than a lot of people think he is. He saw 7 targets. He is honestly the only weapon on this offense for the Redskins. Vernon Davis, as long as Jordan Reed's out, he's a good start. They gave him the ball. He had 4 receptions. I think he saw 6 targets. So he's a good start if you're kind of just streaming tight ends. As far as sit him, Chase Keenum, that secondary for the Cowboys is very underrated. I don't think Keenum's gonna put up another performance like he did against the Eagles, whose secondary was kind of a big question mark going into the year. Redskin running backs, I don't trust them. Chris Thompson would honestly be the only one I'd be tempted to start, and that's just because he was so utilized in the passing game. He saw 10 targets for 7 receptions. Trey Quinn, I don't think he's a start here. Jason Witten, he was only relevant because he got a touchdown last week. Cardinals versus the Ravens ought to be a very fun game, a game that may get out of hand because I think Baltimore is just that much better. Arizona didn't really impress me. Kyler Murray didn't really impress me, but I think he is a start because the offense will live and die by him. Same with Lamar Jackson. I think he could pick on this on this secondary like he did it to Miami, because right now the Cardinals secondary isn't much better than Miami's. They're missing Patrick Peterson. They're missing Robert Alford. They're not that much better, so I can see them definitely taking advantage of that. I got Mark Ingram and David Johnson as starts. Larry Fitzgerald looked to be the go-to target, so he is back to being fantasy relevant, and I'm so happy. I love Larry Fitz. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. I think just given the matchup, he is a start. He only saw like 14 snaps last week, but given the matchup, I think he is a start if you are tight at the wide receiver position. And Mark Andrews put up a baller performance last week. I have Christian Kirk as the only sit right now. If you don't want to include the whatever tight ends playing for for Arizona, but Christian Kirk, he just didn't do a lot last week, and I don't mind stashing him on my bench until he's proven otherwise. But I'm a little wary about this offense for Arizona because they were shut out in that first half. It wasn't until they made those second half adjustments and the offense kind of looked a little more vanilla. Because I mean, they were trying to do a lot of fancy stuff in the first half, and it didn't work. But yeah, just stash Kirk on the bench right now. Jacksonville versus Houston. Deshaun Watson put up a great performance. He is a start for me, as well as his teammates Duke Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins. I liked Duke Johnson. They gave him carries. He almost split carries with Carlos Hyde, and he was used very much so in the passing game, which was very odd because typically Watson doesn't pass to his running backs. So that was really cool to see. I think Johnson is a start. The sits for me, though, is both teams' tight ends. If you could name who they are, I'd be impressed. As well as Will Fuller. He saw only 2 targets this past week. I don't trust anyone that's not DeAndre Hopkins at receiver for the Texans. And I got Carlos Hyde because this Jaguar defense, they were a bit exposed against the Chiefs, but it's the Chiefs. They're a juggernaut of an offense. I think they'll come in here and they'll be ready to go. And Duke Johnson, he has the ability to be a pass catcher. Carlos Hyde, he will not be used in that fashion in this offense. I think he will struggle in this game. Gardner Minshew, he looked good. I still won't start him unless you're like in a super flex league where you can start 2 quarterbacks, and even then there's better options. He looked good last week. I just wouldn't be eager to start him. And then with him at quarterback, I don't trust any of the receivers for Jacksonville, because if Foles was still there, I would love D.D. Westbrook, because he went to D.D. Westbrook a lot. D.D. Westbrook didn't see that same type of didn't see the same type of targets when Minshew came in the game. So I'm not comfortable starting D.D. this week. Leonard Fournette, though, he's really, I think he had all the carries for that Jacksonville offense. The next closest guy was had 1. So I think he's an easy start. He should be in the way. Man, the Texans, they had a rough time with Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. So I wouldn't feel too bad. I think Fournette has running back 2 potential in this matchup. Chiefs versus the Raiders. Man, you really should start everyone for the Chiefs. I think, except for Mecole Hardman, I think he's a good stash. He's a good stash for your bench, especially if Tyreek Hill is going to be out for an extended time. But I first want to see what he will look like in this offense, if they will use him, or if they're going to use like Demarcus Robinson or someone else. So I would just stash him on the bench for now. As for the Raiders, I think almost everyone's a start in this game because the Chiefs' defense is not that good. Again, it's a defense that's being rebuilt, but I really liked what I saw from Oakland this week, and I'd say you could go ahead and probably start their offense. The only receiver I would start for Oakland, though, would be Tyrell Williams, and I really liked what Darren Waller looked. Man, he looked great. Chicago versus the Broncos. I don't really like this matchup. I think this is going to be a big revenge game. And I say revenge game, there's no ill will. The Bears have no ill will against the Broncos. They're just pissed because they only put up 3 points in their opener. So I think they're going to come out and they're gonna look pretty good. I think Mitch's going to look good. I think Cohen's going to look good. Allen Robinson and Gabriel. But Anthony Miller, man, he was a non-factor. I don't think he saw a target in their opener. That worries me. That concerns me. I would sit him. Cohen, he's the only running back I would start for the Bears right now, just because it's such a big committee and he's so utilized in the slot there right now. Montgomery, and Mike Davis splitting carries doesn't make me feel comfortable. I won't start either, and I won't start anyone from the Broncos. This is a very good Bears defense. I don't trust Flacco, and it's a running back by committee. It's literally a running back by committee there in Denver. So I really don't like the matchup. I don't like it. You could maybe start Cortland Sutherland or Cortland Sutton. But I wouldn't be confident. Again, this is a very good Bears defense, so yeah, I won't start anyone for Denver. The Saints versus the Rams should be a shootout. This is probably game of the week. This is going to be a very fun game. You're going to be starting almost everybody. Almost everybody. I just got 3 guys you probably want and shouldn't. Darrell Henderson, he is the running back 3. He saw 1 carry. I think it's safe to drop him. I mean, you could hold on to him, but Malcolm Brown's the second running back there. He scored more than Gurley last week. He's the red zone back as well. So I don't see any reason to hold on to Henderson. Tyler Higbee, the tight end or the tight ends for the Rams, they're typically non-factors. He had a good game, but they're not reliable. And then Traquan Smith, he only saw, I believe it was 2 targets in that win against Houston. It was really Ted Ginn Jr. who saw like 7 or 8 targets. So the wide receiver 2, the second option there is Ginn Jr. It's not Traquan Smith. Philadelphia versus Atlanta should be a very fun matchup, and I think Atlanta's going to rebound after a very bad performance against Minnesota. You go ahead, start him. Carson Wentz, he's a start. They were kind of a slow build. They were very cold in the first half, but once they caught fire. I think Wentz is a good start, as well as Miles Sanders. He saw the workload out of the 3 backs that they utilized. So go ahead, and I think it's safe to start putting him in the flex. I think it's safe if you're starting 3 running backs. He's a safe third option. Julio Jones, he's a start. Calvin Ridley, I think, can tear the top off this offense much like Terry McLaurin did last week. So that's why I have him as a start. Sean Jackson, whoo, man, he had a great game. It sucked. I played myself because all this talk about his broken finger and how he was like, oh, this feels really weird in a splint. It was just everything indicated to put Jackson on the bench, and then he goes out and just has a banger of a game. Start him. Don't live with the regret. Alshon Jeffrey, I think he's a start as well. He's the number 1 option. And both tight ends, Austin Hooper looked very good. So there's been this hype before where Hooper's like, oh man, I think he's actually going to be utilized in this passing game. But as of now, because Vernon Davis did pretty well against the Eagles, as of now, I would say go ahead and do it. Devontae Freeman, I think he will have a better game, but this is a tough defensive line. You saw what they did to Darius Geis. They weren't letting anyone run on him. I don't feel comfortable starting Freeman this week. Jordan Howard, I don't think is gonna. You're gonna start seeing his carries dwindle already. I think even Darren Sproles outcarried him. So, and Nelson Aguilar, he's just not being targeted in the offense. He saw like 2 targets, so he's kind of a non-factor and almost unrosterable. And the Monday night game, Cleveland versus the New York Football Jets. 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 Sit Sam Darnold. I don't like him in this matchup. I just don't like him in this matchup. I think this defense is going to look a lot better. The defense played very well in the first half, and it kind of just, honestly, the whole Brown team fell apart in that second half. I think they're going to be coming out here with something to prove, and they're going to look much better. Quincy Enunwa, I don't even know if he'll be healthy, so I would kind of wait and see. But even then, I don't think he's a start, because I like their other two receivers a lot more. Both tight ends, I think you could send him. Njoku looked, he was a non-factor, but granted, the Browns just altogether, they didn't play that well. Baker, start him. Chubb, start him. Odell, start him. Landry, start him. Like I said, I think this offense is going to go off in this game because they have a lot to prove. Now, Le'Veon Bell, he proved he's going to see almost all of the carries, and he's a threat in the pass game, so I like him as a start. Robbie Anderson, I think, will look better this game. Like the Cleveland secondary, they kind of proved that they could be hit with the big plays. We saw that with AJ Brown. So I think this might actually be a favorable matchup for Anderson. And Jamison Crowder, I just think he's going to see the opportunities. Adam Gase, man, he loves his slot receivers. We saw it with Javaris Landry in Miami. He loves his slot guys, and Crowder is the slot guy. So if you're just looking for a guy that's probably going to see a lot of opportunity and a lot of touches, Crowder's your guy. That's it for the video. Like I said, next week I'm going to split these up into quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. I just kind of whiffed it this week. My bad. But till next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.